You have reached a point where you no longer feel the desperate, scratching urge to fill the silence. You are standing in the center of a room, watching the words of others fall to the floor like dead leaves, and for the first time in your life, you aren't bending down to pick them up. You aren't trying to tape them back onto the branches. You are simply watching them stay where they fell. This is the sign you have been waiting for. This is the evidence that your frequency has shifted beyond the reach of the common world. For years, you were the one who held the bridge together. You were the emotional glue, the one who saw a conversation dying and felt a physical pang of anxiety in your chest. You felt it was your job to keep the energy alive, to keep the person across from you comfortable, to ensure that there was never a moment of awkward silence. But look at you now. You are realizing that what you once called awkward was actually the Holy Spirit trying to close a door that you were stubbornly holding open with your own exhausted hands. Right now, you are experiencing a strange, heavy stillness. You might be sitting at a dinner table, or standing in the break room at work, or even lying in bed next to someone you've known for years, and suddenly, the dialogue stops. In the past, this would have felt like a failure. It would have felt like you were losing your spark, or that you were being boring. But listen to me. You aren't becoming boring. You are becoming sovereign. You are finally understanding that you do not owe the world your breath. You do not owe the matrix your energy just to keep a shallow connection on life support. Do you feel that pressure in your solar plexus? That slight, buzzing heat that used to tell you to speak, to joke, to ask another question, to perform? It's fading. You are beginning to let the silence sit there like an uninvited guest, and you are realizing that the guest isn't scary at all. You are watching people's faces change when you don't jump in to save the interaction. You see their discomfort. You see them fidget. You see them look for an exit. And instead of chasing them, you are letting them go. You've noticed that your phone is quieter lately. The long, winding threads of text messages that used to drain your battery and your soul have slowed down to a trickle. You see a read receipt, or you see a bubble pop up and disappear, and you just put the phone down. You don't feel the need to send that follow-up. You don't feel the need to check in to make sure things are good. You finally understand that if a conversation ends naturally, it is because it has served its divine purpose. To force it further is to eat crumbs from a table where you were meant to be the guest of honor. This is the physical manifestation of your evolution. Your vocal cords are resting because your soul is tired of translating high-frequency truths into low-frequency dialects. You are tired of being the fixer of vibes. You are recognizing that when a conversation dies, it is often a mercy killing. The universe is pruning your social garden, and the silence is the sound of the shears. You are not lonely. You are being insulated. You are being wrapped in a cocoon of quiet so that you can finally hear the instructions meant only for your ears. You are letting it end because you finally trust that what is meant for you will never require you to perform like a circus act just to keep it interesting. The reason this is happening to you right now isn't a social fluke or a sudden bout of introversion. It is a fundamental shift in your spiritual architecture. You must understand that every word you speak is a release of prana, the vital life force energy that resides within your vessel. For years, the enemy has used your kindness and your empathy as a straw, slowly sipping your light through meaningless chatter and forced interactions. But the divine has stepped in. You are being placed under a celestial communication fast. The spiritual cause behind these ending conversations is the widening of the frequency gap. You have been vibrating at a level of truth and transparency that the world simply cannot process. When you sit across from someone and the conversation withers, it is because your light has become too blinding for their shadows to hide in. Silence is the ultimate mirror. When you stop talking, the other person is forced to face themselves, and most people in the matrix are absolutely terrified of who they see in the mirror. They aren't leaving the conversation because you are dry. They are fleeing because your stillness is exposing their lack of depth. You have broken a cardinal rule of the matrix, the rule of perpetual noise. The system is designed to keep you in a state of constant mental static, so that you cannot hear the whispers of your ancestors or the roar of the divine. By letting conversations end naturally, you are effectively unplugging from the feedback loop of the world. You are reclaiming your sovereignty. Every time you refuse to fill a gap in dialogue, you are telling the universe, "My energy is a premium currency, and I will no longer spend it on people who do not have the spiritual funds to exchange with me." This is a protective barrier being erected around your spirit. Think of your energy like a high-voltage power line. In the past, you allowed anyone to walk up and tap into your grid, draining your voltage until you were flickering and dim. But now, the divine has installed a vibrational gatekeeper. This gatekeeper is shutting down connections that are no longer aligned with your mission. If a conversation feels heavy, like you are dragging a boulder uphill, it is because that person is no longer authorized to access your frequency. The heavens are literally muting you in their presence to prevent your pearls from being cast before swine. You are being prepared for a higher calling that requires absolute focus. In the spiritual realms, silence is the laboratory where power is created. You cannot manifest your kingdom if you are constantly leaking your plans and your essence into the ears of those who are assigned to distract you. The awkward silence you feel is actually a sacred buffer. It is a boundary created by the angels to ensure that your internal frequency remains unpolluted. You are being moved into a space of selective resonance. You are no longer meant to be the background music for everyone else's life. You are being tuned to the solo frequency of your own destiny. The divine is showing you that you don't need to fix anything, because there is nothing broken about the end of a cycle. When a conversation dies, a contract has expired, you are witnessing the literal closing of energetic portals. Every time you allow a dialogue to drift into nothingness without panic, you are passing a test of spiritual maturity. You are proving that you no longer need external validation to feel whole. You are standing in your power, realizing that your value is not measured by how much you can entertain the masses, but by how well you can inhabit the silence with God. Watch closely how the people around you react when you refuse to perform. When you stop being the one to throw out the lifeline of a new topic, you will see the masks of the matrix begin to slip. The narcissists, the energy vampires, and the low-vibration parasites who have been feeding off your extroverted effort are starting to panic. To them, your silence is a weapon. They perceive your stillness as a threat because they cannot control a person they cannot engage. They are used to pulling your strings and watching you dance to keep the mood light. But now that you've cut the strings, they are staring at a version of you they don't recognize. They are scared of your silence because it is a vacuum they cannot fill. Within the matrix, silence is interpreted as judgment. Because they are filled with internal guilt and unresolved shadows, when you stop talking, they assume you are reading them. And the truth is, you are. Your discernment has reached a level where you can hear what they aren't saying louder than the words coming out of their mouths. You see the frantic look in their eyes as they realize they have to actually contribute something of substance to keep your attention. And when they find they have nothing to offer, they become resentful. This is why you might notice people snapping at you lately, or accusing you of being moody or acting different. They are trying to provoke a reaction to get you back into the old loop. They want the old you, the one who would apologize for the quiet, the one who would over-explain themselves just to keep the peace. But you aren't biting the hook anymore. You are realizing that their discomfort is not your responsibility. If they find the silence unbearable, it is because they find their own company unbearable. You are no longer acting as a distraction for their inner void. The enemy's reaction is one of frantic desperation. They are losing their grip on your timeline. In the spiritual realm, when you stop engaging in low-level chatter, you become invisible to certain demonic entities that operate through gossip, drama, and emotional manipulation. By letting the conversation end, you are effectively cloaking your energy. You are becoming a ghost in their machine. They try to poke you. They try to bait you with passive-aggressive comments. They try to guilt-trip you into talking. But your lack of response is making them feel powerless. You are witnessing the glitch in the matrix firsthand. You see them start a sentence, trail off, and wait for you to finish it. But you don't. You see them ask a shallow question, and you give a short, honest answer without the fluff. The power dynamic has shifted entirely. In the past, they held the power because you were the one who cared more about the connection. Now, you hold the power because you are perfectly fine with the connection ending right here, right now. You have mastered the art of being in the world, but not of it. They are terrified because a chosen one who is comfortable in silence is a chosen one who has found their own source of light. You no longer need to plug into their social sockets to get a charge. You are self-sustaining. This scares the system because the system thrives on codependency. When you show the world that you don't need their validation or their small talk to feel secure, you break the spell of the social architect. You are standing in the wreckage of a collapsed conversation, and you are the only one not coughing on the dust. You are breathing the fresh air of freedom while they are suffocating in the vacuum of their own superficiality. The truth you are uncovering is a foundational law of the kingdom, the law of spiritual economy. In the higher realms, nothing is wasted. Every spark of intent, every vibration of sound, and every moment of attention is a sacred resource. The universe is not losing interest in your social life. It is teaching you how to govern your estate. You are being initiated into a higher order of existence, where the quality of your presence is determined by what you refuse to say. This is the fulfillment of the prophecy for the remnant, the ones who would walk through the valley of the shadow of noise and fear no silence. You must realize that God's plan for your life involves a sanctification of the ears. To hear the blueprints for your next level, your auditory field must be cleared of the static of the mundane. When you allow a conversation to end naturally, you are performing an act of spiritual hygiene. You are scrubbing the energetic residue of the matrix off your aura. The theology of the chosen one is built upon the principle of the separated life. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out as a beacon of stillness in a world drowning in its own screaming. This is the metaphysical reality. Your silence is a frequency that carries the weight of I am. When you do not feel the need to fix a dying dialogue, You are aligning with the divine creator, who does not rush to explain himself to those who do not listen. Consider the depth of the void before the world was created. It was silent, yet it was pregnant with all possibility. By embracing the end of these shallow interactions, you are returning to that state of pure potentiality. You are clearing the space so that the universe can fill it with something far more substantial than the "how's the weather?" or "did you hear about?" gossip that has kept you tethered to the ground. The specific prophecy for your current season is one of quiet authority. You are entering a stage where you will influence rooms not by what you speak, but by the atmosphere you carry. Your silence is becoming a tuning fork for truth. When you stop trying to fix the interaction, you force the spiritual environment to adjust to you. This is how you take territory. You are no longer reacting to the world. The world is being forced to react to your stillness. This is the peace that surpasses all understanding. It is a peace so profound that it literally shuts the mouths of lions. You are being taught that the divine does not operate in the frantic. The Creator moves in the still, small voice. If you are constantly shouting over the silence to keep a narcissist happy or to keep a friend from feeling awkward, you are essentially drowning out the voice of God in your own life. You are being summoned to the mountaintop, and the climb is quiet. Every conversation you let die is a weight you are dropping so that you can ascend faster. You are realizing that many of the people you were talking to were actually anchors, holding you to a version of yourself that died a long time ago. Trust the divine geometry of this transition. If a bridge burns, it's because you were meant to fly. If a conversation fails, it's because the narrative has reached its final chapter. You are being written into a new story. A story where you are the master of your energy. This is the truth. You are not losing your social skills. You are gaining your spiritual sight. You are finally seeing that most human interaction is a game of shadows, and you have decided to step into the sunlight. The silence is not a hole. It is a holy temple. And inside that temple, you are finally meeting the version of yourself that doesn't need to say a single word to be powerful. Take a deep breath and feel the weight of this new silence. It is not a burden. It is a cloak of protection. You are now entering the phase of active observation. Your practical step from this moment forward is to become the witness. When you feel that familiar, itchy impulse to jump in and save a dying conversation, I want you to mentally count to 5. In those 5 seconds, observe the energy. Notice how the other person reacts. Notice the stillness in your own chest. You will realize that the world does not collapse when you stop talking. In fact, your world finally begins to stabilize. I want you to practice the sacred pause. When someone finishes speaking, don't rush to reply. Let their words hang in the air for a moment longer than usual. This is how you reclaim your power. You are signaling to the matrix that you are no longer on its clock. You are on kingdom time. You are grounding yourself in the earth, feeling your roots go deep into the silent, dark soil where all growth begins. You are a tree of righteousness, and trees do not strain to be heard. They simply exist, and their presence changes the entire landscape. Now, let us seal this energy. If you are able, place your hand over your heart and feel the steady rhythm of a life that no longer needs to explain itself. Repeat these words, either aloud or in the sanctuary of your mind. I release the need to perform. I release the burden of carrying other people's comfort. My silence is my sanctuary. My energy is my own. I trust the divine to end what is no longer serving me, and I trust the stillness to bring me what is mine. I am sovereign. I am grounded. I am enough in the quiet. Feel that frequency locking into your bones. The heavy pressure of social anxiety is lifting, replaced by the cool, crisp air of spiritual authority. You are being activated as a silent leader. From this day on, people will feel a weight when they speak to you. Not a weight of darkness, but a weight of truth. They will find themselves choosing their words more carefully around you. They will sense that you are no longer a cheap source of energy. You have become a high-value vessel, and access to your words is now a privilege, not a right. I want you to claim this shift right now. If you feel this transition in your soul, if you are ready to stop fixing and start flowing, comment, "I am the silence," below. This isn't just a comment. It is a digital signature on a new contract with the universe. By typing those words, you are telling the unseen realms that you have accepted your new frequency. You are informing the enemy that the entertainment is over, and the empowerment has begun. Go forth today and embrace the gaps. Let the silence be your companion. If the conversation ends at the grocery store, let it end. If the phone call goes quiet, let it hang. If the relationship withers because you stopped being the only one watering it, let it go. You are clearing the runway for a divine landing. Something massive is coming toward you, and it requires a clear, quiet space to arrive. You are the chosen one, and your silence is the loudest thing about you. Would you like me to generate an image of a chosen one, standing in a cathedral of light and silence to accompany this message?